Howdy.
Hey, Steven.
What's up, Joe?
How you doing?
Oh, I can't complain. How about yourself?
I'm pretty good. So I got to listen to the new album, and I'm really excited about it. It's awesome.
Dope.
Um, so the new record's called Stinger, and it's set to release January 13th on Modern Outsider Records, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what can you tell us about it in general?
Well, um, we did it mostly with a guy named Frenchie Smith. His name is Chris John Smith,
Okay.
but we call him Frenchie. Don't ask. He's from Oklahoma. I don't get it.
Not
But
French.
he's mostly a rock and roll guy, and the horn players tracked some stuff with him for another band called the Toadies, and they met him. He said he liked what we did and he wanted to work with us. So most of the tracks came from that session, and they're predominantly live takes. So, criminy. Um, so it's mostly a live record with some tweaks, and then there were a few. There's like one track from an older session that we did with Adrian Casada. He's from Brownout, the
Yep.
group Tasma, and then there's two tracks that we actually did for free at a Converse Rubber Track session, and we liked them better than the versions we did with Frenchie. So
Okay.
we just brought that to Frenchie and told him to mix it, and that was that with those. So yeah, it's a good cohesive work. We made one full length several years ago, and then a few singles here and there, but
Hmm.
finally had two full lengths in this past year. We had one that came out last summer also.
Yeah, the Public Hi-Fi one's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, that was a great experience. Somehow the other record was already done, and then we ended up doing that in the middle.
Okay.
Somehow got fast tracked at the pressing plant somehow.
Good.
But yeah, we're trying to do a lot more stuff in the studio in general.
Great. Yeah, I think all the songs are dope. You've got something in there for funk fans, world music lovers, jazz fans, jam band guys, and you can tell that you work with a rock producer. You know, there's a great mix of rock and your rhythm and your African influences. Um, how do you describe the interplay between your African influences and the like rock and roll bluesy Austin influences, and then how do you spread that out among 10 guys?
Um, I don't know. I mean, we've obviously studied some African music, but then most of us come from a very Western experience, so we're always kind of putting it through that filter,
Mm,
I guess. Like no matter what, we're Americans attempting to play this African music, and
right.
most of us grew up in rock bands, or the horn players came from like soul or probably ska backgrounds or something.
Mm,
But and there's a few jazz degrees in the band too, so there's just always a lot of filters going on. But there's a certain amount of aggression as well, I guess, when you get 10 guys in a room together. So
okay.
there's that energy to reckon with. Um, yeah, I don't. We just it all sort of commingles, and we collectively come up with arrangements that we think work.
Okay.
So um, I don't know. I probably didn't answer that question.
No, that's all right. Um, I love the funky flute on Men of Trouble. How did you work that in there?
um, we generally get one Joe Woullard flute solo on every record,
Okay.
and he's a dangerous doubler. He's also our Barry sax player.
Okay.
So that one just worked out. I don't know if there's another one on the record, but when he pulls it out, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is
So
pretty awesome.
that was I really like the guitar solo on that track too, which is John Branch, who's like a pretty brilliant slide player and
Okay.
everything. But Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool because he's got his funky flute in there, and it kind of mellow, kind of like a mellow break there in the middle of the song, and then the guitar solo comes right after it, and it's a
Yeah.
really cool juxtaposition from like the mellow to the heavy.
Yeah, and we were really, me and the engineer really went to town on the drum sounds on that one. Like, that got some super duper David Bowie, Brian Eno compression on the tom toms and everything, and he actually called that the best drum sound of his career at some point.
Good, that's
Might have
great.
been hyperbole, but I'll take it. I'll take some credit there. But yeah, now we have to remember how to play that one live again because it's been a couple months.
Okay.
It's a dope one.
Yeah, I like it. And then I think Soul Thing is my favorite one because it's almost like an Isaac Hayes instrumental, but with an Austin rock edge. Like, what can you say
Yeah.
about that one?
Joe Woullard again. He wrote that one, and usually when he writes a song, his seem to come together the easiest. They're always like he comes from kind of a soul background, and when I say that, I mean he's from Mississippi, and his mom was a singer in a girl group,
Okay.
like back in the day, and his dad met her by playing in her band, backing them up. So
Cool.
like actual Southern soul family lineage there. So he also wrote the title track, which came together pretty quick, which is kind of a hard funk thing. But that's just the way he writes. Like his are usually the ones that come together the quickest and feel the most uh, American, I guess.
Okay. um, what are your formations as musicians? Like, how did you guys start real young? Did your parents throw you into it when you were little kids? Did you come into music like when you were older and just because of love of different kinds of music, and then you started playing music? How did how did you guys get into it?
Well, personally, I went through like, the school band thing, but I'm from DC and I played hardcore bands of
Nice.
all things. But I mean, because that's if you're from the DC area, you either played in a hardcore band or a go-go band. And I mean, I know a little bit about go-go, but I ended up playing hardcore. And then I did the band nerd thing all the way through college, and I got a master's in jazz in New Orleans.
Cool.
Studied with Johnny Vodakovich at some point.
Wow.
I don't know if you know him. Then the other dudes, I think there's a couple other degrees. Let me think. Derek, the trumpet player, is from like Michigan. He went to Wayne State for music, which is kind of where a bunch of free jazz type folks teach.
Okay.
But he played in a ska band and he played on cruise ships and he hung out with Dave Douglas in a yurt for a couple weeks in Canada.
Okay.
Joe Woullard, as I said, is from a Southern soul family. He went to MIT to study architecture.
Wow.
I call him the band lawyer because when I need to solve a problem, I usually call him
Okay.
first, just because he thinks about things a different way.
Yeah, sounds like a smart cat.
Yeah. And then Jason, the tenor player, he's from Indiana. He went to DePaul University. I think he has like a music degree. Um, and that's the horn section. They also tour with this guy Black Joe Lewis.
Oh yeah, cool.
So he's got another album coming out soon.
Good.
For him. In the percussion section, Tony Cruz is like real deal New Yorican. He's the senior of the band. He's 60 years old, but he picked up. He was like a childhood roadie for the Fania All Stars.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
You know your salsa music, so
Yeah.
he picked up stuff from them, and he was just in New York in the '70s, and he learned to play rumbas by a fire in a trash can, like in the park outside this time of year. So he's like real deal Latin percussionist. And Tommy, the other percussionist, is from Long Island, but he moved to LA to be in hair bands in the '80s. And then he ended up interning at the record plant and all these other things. And but he plays in the samba school that we have here. So
Cool.
he's got this hair metal pedigree, and there's probably a lot of embarrassing pictures he won't share with me of that. But if you ever get to see a live show, he's the ball of energy. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, what is that? I just gave you percussion, horns. Sorry, this is an orchestra I'm talking about. Joe Sokolik has a history degree. He's a school teacher. He's been playing bass forever. Um, Aaron Sleator on guitar. He's kind of a rock and roll dude. He was in a post rock band called Cougar.
Okay.
They're on Ninja Tune. They're worth checking out. Um, but he's working on becoming a licensed architect or something. And I also have a power pop band with him called Chancellor.
Okay.
It basically sounds like Joe Jackson.
Oh, wow.
And then John Branch, who I just mentioned before, he also plays with Golden Dawn Orchestra. He used to play in, what were they called? I know he toured with Spanish Gold, which is another Adrian Casada project.
Okay.
Then Mudphonic with Topaz. And he also plays with Golden Dawn Orchestra.
Cool.
And then Gerardo Larios comes to us from Mexico City by way of Berklee College of Music.
Wow.
So he plays guitar and keyboard. He's collecting every combo organ that he can find. And he also plays with a band called Money Chicha here, just like a chicha band that the dudes from Brownout have on the side.
Okay.
And he plays in the Echocentrics also with Adrian Casada and what is her name? Natalia from Thievery Corporation. So
very cool.
Everybody gets around.
Yeah, man.
Everyone. But
yeah, that's awesome. Will you guys have a coast to coast USA tour for this one?
We're trying to figure out how to do that as soon as we can. We probably will make more like shorter runs.
Okay.
Like we just went to Colorado and back. So I mean, just because some of us are fathers of young children and we have so many other projects, like we have to do the runs kind of quick.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to book tours around other projects. So hopefully we're getting on at least a few of the Western festivals in the next year. That's kind of the plan, and then to build some runs out of that. We just kind of have to cram it in wherever we can with 10 people's schedules and lots of other projects going on. It's always a struggle.
Right.
But we'll get there. We'll get everywhere. We're doing this band forever.
Good. That's what I want to hear.
Say about it.
Like in a perfect world, what music festival would you most want to play at?
Well, we just played. It's new here. It's called Sound on Soundfest.
Okay.
Which used to be Fun Fest, but they basically picked it up and they moved it out to a Renaissance Fair site.
Okay.
Which was awesome. Just an awesome setting. But they have a real diverse mix. I mean, there's like punk bands, but there's also, Fantagram or Big Boy was on it. And they were nice enough to put us on the main stage this year. And that's like my personal dream kind of festival. Obviously, we want to get everywhere. We've played some after shows during Jazz Fest, and
cool.
Obviously we love being a part of that. Where else? There's just so many that I don't even know where to begin. I mean, I'm hoping to get us out to High Sierra or to the Sierra Nevada World Music Festival.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
What about like dream venues? If you could play any venue in the U.S., what would you pick?
the Cap Center. That's a joke. I don't care about playing the Cap Center, but I saw concerts there when I was a teenager.
Okay.
Uh, I mean, for Austin venues, I don't know. I think we'd rather play the theaters than the clubs at some point.
Okay.
I don't even know. Just anywhere outside of Austin. I mean, it's kind of hard to pick this project up and move it. So
Okay.
I'd be happy with well attended shows out of state
Right.
with cool people.
Yeah.
All I care about.
Good. Like, how would you describe your music to a new promoter or venue owner? Like, what's your pitch to get them to book you?
Um, well, I have a harder time lately calling it Afrobeat, but sometimes I'll say Afrobeat. If they don't know what that is, then I'll say like kind of like Budos Band or Antibalas or
Okay.
somebody like that. Um, so in that vein, although yeah, like Budos Band, but we're not destroying anybody's instruments or anything.
I mean, like Austin's music scene is world famous, of course, and your music seems different than the blues rock the city is famous for. Like, how diverse is the scene there, and how do you fit into it?
Um, it's actually really diverse. I mean, having lived here in New Orleans in my adult life, I like it here a little better because I can play this impractical large band funk, or I can play. I get a lot of country calls lately, or I have the jazz training, so I do a lot of jazz gigs. But
Cool.
somehow we fit in really well here. Like when I hit up promoters in other towns, they're like, "Wait a minute, you don't have a singer? Like that doesn't really work." And I mean, multiple venues in San Antonio told me that lately. Um, but somehow this works here. I don't. There's not necessarily rhyme or reason to it, but everywhere people like to dance. So
Right.
you know,
Yeah, as a booming music city, can local bands like Hard Proof or like can you guys make a good living just playing in Austin and nearby?
um, technically, yeah, you run the risk of what's the world? You could easily oversaturate the market around here, but Austin, growing as it is, like I think almost 160 people move here every day or something now. Like it's really, really growing. But all these different neighborhoods have popped up. So conceivably, if you wanted to play, even with a band as big as this, if you wanted to book one neighborhood every night of the week, you could probably do that 4 nights a week and still draw.
That's cool.
So it could be done, or if you just do a project like this and then work a lot of weddings or something. I mean, it's a town where you could be a working musician,
Okay.
but um, it can be done. I don't know if I'd recommend it to anyone. But,
Yeah.
and there's lots of other stuff. There's lots of, I mean, it's not a market for jingle, but people come here to make records and stuff, so you can play on other people's records.
Okay.
So, um, but I mean, I'd say half this band is kind of classic Austin musician of late in that they have a day gig and they play in 4 bands.
Okay.
Maybe a side hustle on top of that.
Okay.
So that's just very, very typical Austin these days.
What are some of your day jobs?
Um, I work IT. We have at least one I'll just call him a software designer because I don't know exactly what he does.
Right.
With one school teacher, one professional handyman, one architect. Uh, the horn section are all basically full-time musicians. I know one of them picks up shifts at a juice bar between tours,
Okay.
but And then like John is really big into his guitar school, which is I think it's called Branch Out Guitar.
Okay.
He does that online, like a lot of online lessons and stuff. So he's
Cool.
trying to make that work. And then oh, and Tommy's like a graphic designer, 3D animator type dude.
Okay.
Working in a lot of video games. He does a lot of our show posters, and he did the cover of the first record.
Right
So
on.
it's good to have like a web designer and a graphic person in the band, so you don't have to hire every bit of that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, how do you guys handle the business of being in a band of 10 people? Like, logistically, financially, interpersonally? How do you
Um,
juggle it all? And do you juggle it, or is somebody else? Is there like a point person for it all?
I juggle the bulk of it, and I try to delegate a lot of things. I'm not always very good at that. Uh, like I do all the business stuff and the booking, and financially we just try and like when we can pay ourselves out, we pay ourselves out. If we need to save up for something, we save up for something.
Okay.
So luckily the paychecks are big enough that we're paying ourselves out enough these days. Um,
That's great.
and then like one guy will like Gerardo does the website, so that's one thing. And then Tommy will do flyers when I need them, and the other guys kind of write and arrange rehearsals. So
Okay.
everybody's sort of like I don't know why the roles kind of shook out like they did, but they fell into place 6 or 7 years ago when we started doing it, and never really never redelegated. I mean, as much as I would love to hand off managerial duties to somebody outside the band, I'd probably be on the phone with them half the time telling them what to do. Anyway,
Right. Yeah.
that whole Capricorn nature thing where you think you're in charge of everything anyway, so they might as well just let you be in charge.
Yeah. What current bands do you admire and why?
um, well, okay, it's not a band, but I saw Aphex Twin the other night, and he hadn't played the U.S. in 8 years.
Okay.
That was really, really impressive. Just, I'm going to be processing that show for several years, I'm
Wow.
sure. Pretty, pretty wild. Um, and then, I mean, I check out a lot of rock bands and stuff, and a lot of older music. I mean, it's sort of sad that I probably listen to music more to learn it, to play gigs, than I
Okay.
do for pleasure anymore.
Okay.
So, in an odd way, I've been checking out a lot of old school country because I've been getting those calls lately.
Wow.
But then, and I everybody's always checking out different stuff though. Like Jason sent over this Childish Gambino cover. He wants us to learn for the release show next month.
Nice.
So I dove into that record, and that was pretty badass. Um, and there's stuff like that every year. Like last year, I didn't listen to anything but that D'Angelo record for about 6 weeks when it came out.
Yeah, it's good.
So, and local stuff. Money Cheech is pretty awesome. Golden Dawn Orchestra is pretty awesome. There's a really strange. I'm not sure how to explain them. They're called Gloves International. It's like this real minimal funk, like really sparse sounds, but I really dig their record. And my buddy hipped me to some. I don't know how to describe this. I think they're from New York, and I think they're called Show Me the Body.
Okay.
They're like sort of. The guy sort of sing raps the words, and he plays banjo, like really distorted, crunchy banjo. Like I hate the banjo. I went to college in West Virginia, so I really overdosed on bluegrass music. But this you would never know it was the banjo if somebody didn't tell you from the record. But So I was digging that record the other night. Um, yeah, I don't. We're all musical omnivores, and we're all
Right.
checking out all kinds of different stuff all the time. And I mean, when we're putting together a song, it's like I think you were talking about what's the one with the flute solo, Men of Trouble.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why, but when we were workshopping that one, like it took a minute to get the groove just where we wanted it, and Joe said like, you should check out King Curtis live at the Apollo, or no, live at the Fillmore.
Hmm.
Just recorded the same show as like an Aretha Franklin show,
Okay.
and Bernard Purdie's on this. So I went down this Bernard Purdie rabbit hole with that, and probably overdid it on a few of his licks on that. I just totally played my cards right there. I told you all the secrets, but that's the way it works. It's like you should check out this or you should steal this vibe, and it's sometimes it's something you're just like, nah, I'm not feeling that. But in that case, like that just sent me down a rabbit hole. So
Nice.
that's the way this band works.
That's cool. So it's Christmas time. What's on your music gear wish list for Santa Claus?
Ooh. I'm more concerned about a place to put all my gear. I have like 25 snare drums and I need to build a shelf for them and my records. Uh, I also need one single Slingerland rack tom
Okay.
from the 1970s,
Nice.
8 by 12. I think I'm more concerned with records right now,
Okay.
honestly, than I have a snare drum problem. And microphones. I always need microphones because we're trying to get to a place where we could record, maybe not at one guy's house, but between several of our houses. Like
Okay.
Gerardo's degree from Berkeley is actually in audio engineering, so
Cool.
he's got a board and he built out his garage. So there's a good chance we do some or all of the next record at his studio.
Very nice.
Or we can at least cut demos there.
Cool.
Yeah. So you say Christmas list, but there's just a year-round wish list
Yeah.
for year that. I mean, I'm on Craigslist all the time, so I'm always shopping. It never stops.
Yeah. Just hoping those gems pop up on Craigslist.
Yep.
So, what else should people know about Hard Proof?
Oh, I don't know. We're an unstoppable juggernaut of Afro funk.
Good. I like the way that sounds. Yeah, it's a great record. I look forward to it coming out in January soon. I think people are going to love it.
Right on.
Thanks, Steven.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome. See ya.
Have a good night. Be well.
You too.